Thank you. The tax is going really well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you just saw President Trump come to the microphones, sort of, with not a lot of insight about what happened, but nice wave and seemed to say that it went well. And President Trump is on Capitol Hill, of course, talking to House Republicans. They are going to vote on their must-pass tax reform bill in about an hour. CNN's Phil Mattingly was right there on the other side of the camera when the president came up. He joins us by phone. Phil, you've been talking to members who were inside the room that the president just left. What are you hearing? Phil Mattingly, can you hear me? Okay, we're going to wait to get comms with Phil Mattingly. In the meantime, we have reporters here who are certainly well-sourced. And I can tell you, before I go to you, that the president, we are told, was joking about his occasional battles with House Republicans and said of the members that he was gathered with, about 30 to 40% are fine people. And this is according to a member who texted that to CNN. Oh, I think we have Phil back. Let's try that one more time. Phil.
Hey, Dana, you know the basements of the Capitol quite well, not always conducive to the best of cell phone coverage. Look, you guys just saw it. The president came out of the meeting, said everything's going great. At least when it comes to the House, he's not wrong. I think we're just recounting some of the things he said inside the room. Spoke a little bit about taxes, stressed to all of the Republicans that what they should really be doing is selling this tax cut as the biggest tax cut in the history of
Phil, I'm sorry. As I think you said at the beginning, the cell phone coverage there is not great. And that is certainly true right now. So we're going to try to get connected with you when you can come up to the first floor. I think you're probably still in the basement where the president was, and we know that's hard to do.
Not good service.
Not good service. Not good service. They need to work on that. But in any event, look, this is a big deal when a president goes to Capitol Hill, any president, to talk to any member of Congress. What do you think that this did for the Republican conference?
Well, what I was paying attention to and watching is the difference between this effort and the Obamacare repeal effort. Still the same sort of trademark confidence from the Trump White House. They've been saying for days and weeks, we know we're going to get this passed, but you're not seeing any plans, and I think the White House has said they're not going to do this, any plans to have a Rose Garden celebration if and when the House passes. I think there are some lessons, and if you talk to the White House, they'll say, we learned a few lessons about actually going and talking to members and trying to really make sure that they know that we have their back. There's a lot of confidence from the House as well on this, and I think that's reflective of this idea that, at least with the House Republicans, there's unity. There's, of course, as we've been talking about, the different question is with the Senate Republicans.
No, absolutely. And I just want to give a little bit more of Phil's reporting. He was told that the president repeatedly told members that they have to sell the plan as the biggest tax cut in history. So sound Trumpian, basically. He also told members that this was a key line that they needed to remember.
Yeah, this is the cut bill, right? I mean, it's about marketing and White House aides
which
told
he
me
knows
before,
a lot about.
Absolutely, right? No, I mean, people talk about him being a real estate billionaire. He made money just as much in marketing as it was in real estate. And White House aides said ahead of time, to Michael's point, he was not going over there to negotiate the finer points of this law. He was going over there for a rally the troop moment, to give them some talking points and ways to talk about this, and provide some historical context. It's a promise that they've made, and you know, the idea here that this is the biggest, the largest, gives it some historical edge that which is the way he wants them to push it. And we'll see what the particulars trickle out and exactly how he conveyed that message.
And I just want to tell our viewers that what you're looking at right now, that long, beautiful hallway, is it leads to the door at the end there, which is where the president came in. That's a memorial door, right? Memorial door on the House side of the U.S. Capitol. Let me just also give a little bit of substance here about what we're talking about that the House is going to vote on today. The House GOP tax plan would lower the corporate tax rate to 20%, reduce the number of tax brackets to 4, and limit state and local property taxes. So even getting to this point, was not easy for House Republicans. They had to do a lot of wheeling and dealing. And again, we're just talking about among Republicans. Democrats are, for the most part, not a part of this conversation.
Well, you identified a really important issue here, the deduction for state and local taxes. The House bill retains some of that, which is going to allow Republicans in New York and California to vote for this version. Yeah. If the Senate version eliminates all of that, I've had a lot of Republicans in the House tell me that if it came back that way from the Senate, you would lose House Republicans. This is going to be a close vote. They know, but they know they're going to pass it today. This was a cheerleading session. But this bill is struggling a little bit out in the public, I think. You're seeing polls that it's not very popular. People are starting to realize that they're going to lose some of the benefits that they've had on this. And it would help to call it, when you're calling it the biggest tax cut ever, if that was actually true, but it's not.
And that's certainly impacting the numbers in the Senate, right? I mean, we see it's a very close margin right now. One senator is gone already. There's a group of somewhere between 1 and 6 others that are kind of wobbly on it. They can't lose 6. They can't lose more than 2. And that's part of why you see President Trump, when he goes to the Hill to rally lawmakers, not saying, these are my red lines, this is my drop dead. He's saying, pass it, and then we'll get to it. And during the break, the early reporting I saw from our team at Bloomberg, who has been there covering that this morning, is that to say that Roy Moore was not part of the discussion. There was another small victory lap on Asia, shocking, some discussion of the basketball players.
Yes,
but,
he walked through on his role in getting the UCLA players back to the U.S.
But then in terms of drawing lines in the sand about this is what I like in the House bill, this is what I like in the Senate bill, that is not what today is about. And in fact, what he's trying to do is rally them to the next phase by saying, if we get this done, we can go on and begin to tackle entitlement reform, welfare reform, something that's popular.
Well, you see on the screen, Trump said to the House Republicans, the Senate will come around on taxes. Let's talk about that. So the House is going to vote today on what I just talked about. The Senate is, as it tends to be, a different beast. And the issue there is that you have one Republican, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, already saying, no, I can't support this. Now, whether or not he's gettable, it depends on whether they can make changes. But there's a list of many others who are not no's and not yeses. John McCain, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Jeff Flake, Bob Corker, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz. Okay, we don't have that up there, but I would tell you it's a long list.
Langford is on there.
James Langford. Yeah. It's a long list. Now, some of these guys, there it is. There you see their faces. Some of these senators are, playing for leverage, which is a smart move. It's legislating 101. But, since the Republican leadership only have 2 votes to play with, meaning they can lose 2, and then a third means that this thing is not going to happen, it's kind of dangerous.
Well, Susan Collins, I think, is a really interesting case here. As I've said before, she wants to vote for a tax bill, but including the health care mandate repeal in there complicated that for her. Corker and Flake, we know about them too. Who knows where they're going to come down on this? Senator McCain has been opposing these big efforts here. Johnson, we all watched him negotiate on the floor during the health care vote, right up to the last second, and then
he seems more gettable than the rest of the pack, particularly when you tied the health care in with it, right?
And this is all part of the dispute over Roy Moore, too. That election's on December 12th. Right. Can you get the votes in time? I think it's an open question in the Senate. I was actually a little more confident a few weeks ago that they could pull this off, and now I look at it and go, well,
and it's obviously worth repeating. We've been talking about this for several days now, but the critical difference and the change this week was adding the repeal of the individual mandate, throwing Obamacare into the mix. Senator John McCain, one of those who is not a yes, not a no, said the following, I just picked up the newspaper today and they've made a huge change. Every day there seems to be. No, it's not regular order, he said. I have no idea, but I'm insisting on regular order. And that's why he helped.
That sounds like a guy trying to buy a room.
You maybe, but look, he helped sink the other 2 efforts.
I'm saying that he had been fairly, it looked like he would back it, and now he's raising the regular order, which is his